हेलो गाइस, वेलकम टू टुडेज एपिसोड। आज मेरे पास फंडामेंटली तीन सवाल है आपके पास। फर्स्ट वाला सवाल, व्हाट आर मिड कैप फंड्स? क्या आप जानते हैं? सेकंड सवाल, व्हाई आर दे कॉल्ड हाई ग्रोथ स्टॉक्स? एंड थर्ड, व्हाई कैन दे गिव हायर देन मार्केट रिटर्न्स? क्या आपको ये सारे सवालों के जवाब पता है? नहीं पता? तो देखते रहिए पेटीएम मनी टॉक्स इन्वेस्टिंग इन मिड कैप फंड्स। कैन वी हैव द इंट्रो वीडियो प्लीज? हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू येट अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ पेटीएम मनी टॉक्स। हम ऑलरेडी सीजन 2 में आ चुके हैं और सीजन 2 में आने के बाद हमने बहुत ज्यादा अच्छे एपिसोड्स निकाले। आज का एपिसोड उतना ही रोमांचक है हमारे प्रीवियस एपिसोड जितना। इसलिए मैं चाहता हूं कि एवरीवन हु इज ऑन द शो राइट नाउ शुड कॉल, मैसेज एंड टेल ऑल योर फ्रेंड्स दैट देयर इज अ गुड कॉन्वर्सेशन दैट वी आर हैविंग विद वन ऑफ द एक्सपर्ट्स ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री, मिस्टर सचिन रेलेकर, एंड यू वुड मेक a lot out of it. So, without further ado, let me introduce myself and tell you who I am. My name is Muzzammil Syed, and जो Paytm Money Talks देखते रहते हैं उनको मेरे बारे में हल्का सा पता होगा, बट मैं हल्की सी इंट्रोडक्शन अपने बारे में दे दूं। मैं पिछले 5-6 साल से कैपिटल मार्केट इंडस्ट्री में काम कर रहा हूं। मैं प्रोडक्ट, ब्रांड और मार्केटिंग कम्युनिकेशंस हैंडल करता हूं और ऐसे ही कुछ प्लेटफॉर्म्स बनाता हूं जैसे पेटीएम मनी टॉक्स, जो लोगों तक मार्केट सेंट्रिक इंफॉर्मेशन लेकर पहुंचे, जिससे लोग इन्फॉर्म्ड डिसीजंस ले पाए अपने इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के लिए। सो ये करते करते आज मैं आपका होस्ट बन के आया हूं यहाँ पे शो पे, और आपके ये कॉन्वर्जेशन को गाइड करूंगा मिस्टर सचिन रेलेकर के साथ। आज के शो में स्पेसिफिकली हम लोग चार चीज करेंगे। एक चीज होगी कि हम आपको बताने की कोशिश करेंगे कि मार्केट में एग्जैक्टली हो क्या रहा है ना? क्योंकि एनी डिसीजन दैट यू ट्राई टू मेक has to come from a point of view of understanding what is the current market context. So ये शो में हम लोग स्पेसिफिकली फोकस करेंगे कि मार्केट में एग्जैक्टली हो क्या रहा है। और दूसरा है कि हाउ विल मार्केट इम्पैक्ट मिड कैप स्टॉक एंड फंड्स। लाइक अभी मिड कैप फंड्स के ऊपर हम लोग अगर शो कर रहे हैं तो करंट मार्केट सिनेरियो और मिड कैप फंड्स पे क्या असर हो सकता है, दिस इज समथिंग दैट वी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड। थर्ड चीज होगी दैट व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ मिड कैप फंड्स। अगर आप समझ भी जाते हैं कि क्या इंपैक्ट होने वाला है मिड कैप फंड्स पे करंट मार्केट सिचुएशन की वजह से, तो वो फंड आपके पोर्टफोलियो में क्या रोल फुलफिल करता है, ये समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। एंड चौथा, कि पीपल हु आर ऑलरेडी इन्वेस्टिंग इन मिड कैप फंड्स वो क्यों करते हैं, उनके लिए क्या रोल फुलफिल करता है, एंड क्या आपको ये फंड में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए फॉर योर गोल्स एंड एम्बिशंस दैट यू हैव विद पर्सनल फाइनेंस एंड पर्सनल इन्वेस्टमेंट। सो with all of this information ready, I hope you would be in a position, like I promised, to make an informed investment decision with the help of Paytm Money Talks. So I hope you're all excited as much as I am to speak to the only guest of the show today, Mr. Sachin Relekar. And बिफोर वी स्टार्ट, आई रियली वांट यू गाइस टू लाइक, सब्सक्राइब, बिकॉज ये शो हम लोग हर हफ्ते करने की कोशिश करते हैं। और हर हफ्ते नया कंटेंट, नए तरीके से हम मार्केट अपडेट देते हैं आपको। अगर आप इनको लाइक सब्सक्राइब करेंगे तो आपको you'll be more in touch with what's happening in the market, right? So without further ado, let's invite our guest for today, Mr. Sachin Relekar. Sachin sir is an industry expert with more than 20 years of experience. He's a CFA by profession and has completed his master's from one of the best institutions of the country, that is JBIMS. All the MBA aspirants may know how difficult or how important JBIMS is when it comes to colleges and management studies. So he's passed out from one of the top institutions of the country, but that's not just enough. That's not the reason why we have him here. His qualifications के ऊपर उनका एक सॉलिड एक्सपीरियंस का बेस है, जो उन्होंने पिछले 20-25 साल से होन किया है टू टू बिल्ड थिंग्स दैट यू हैव बीन यूजिंग in the past as well. So Sachin has been the brain behind a lot of well performing funds. जैसे अगर आप IDFC के funds यूज करते हैं तो आपको पता होगा कि फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फंड, बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड और इक्विटी सेविंग्स फंड, ये सारे फंड के पीछे मिस्टर सचिन रेलेकर का हाथ है. तो एनीबडी हु इज बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस एंड नो द सक्सेस ऑफ दीस फंड्स would know and has to give credit to Mr. Sachin Relekar. And while this is what he does at IDFC, he was also the chief investment officer of LIC mutual funds before the stint at IDFC. So basically आज सचिन सर से बेहतर गेस्ट आज के शो के लिए नहीं हो सकता था, इसलिए हम लोग बहुत खुश और खुशी से सचिन सर को इनवाइट करते हैं. सचिन सर, वेलकम टू द शो. कैसे लग रहा है आपको?
थैंक यू. थैंक यू और हमें इनवाइट करने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. थैंक यू.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सर. आपसे ना शुरू करने से पहले आई जस्ट वांटेड टू यू नो मेरे खुद के लिए भी आई थिंक इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड आपके जैसे वेटरन से समझना कि आपको करंट मार्केट के बारे में क्या लगता है. लाइक व्हाट डू यू थिंक इज हैपनिंग इन द मार्केट राइट नाउ, एंड क्या like what is the opinion that everybody should make about what's happening currently. So let's start with market update. आप बताएं आपका व्यू क्या है, and then we'll take the conversation from there forward.
Sure. See, we are going through the very interesting time. Number of things happening together. Broadly, I mean, the way we look at the market per se, we basically consider four things to figure out like what is going on, which things are important as of now. So these four buckets are firstly like we look at macro, which is basically economics, and that macro can be divided between domestic and global. Globally, as we know, there is a geopolitical situation which is a bit volatile since Ukraine war, and there was an issue about commodities, especially the energy prices per se, and also the interest rates globally were going up to control the inflation. So those things are still uncertain, as in the inflation levels are still uncertain. The predictability of that is difficult to make. The other half of the macro basically is the domestic economy, because a lot of businesses there listed in the country which are linked to the domestic economy much more strongly. Therefore, the domestic economic cycle or the strength of that matters to them. So from domestic economy point of view, a lot of these high frequency indicators are strong, and they are actually suggesting a good cyclical upliftment also. You saw after COVID, economy opened up, services are back, people are traveling. So those things are also being visible in the company's businesses per se. On other important factor is the liquidity. मतलब interest rates की level क्या है, what level people can borrow at, what level people can invest at. That is an important anchor to the valuations also, but that is also an important anchor to what kind of generally होता है risk on क्या होता है, risk off क्या होता है. So when the interest rate goes up, that is what is happening globally. Even today, RBI has increased the repo rates per se. So liquidity is tightening not only globally but even domestically. So that is a factor which is actually a negative. But we're also living through the third factor. I will just complete this third and fourth. Third is basically the earnings. The companies report their profit numbers. We are going through that season also. And that is surprisingly very, very on a positive side. I mean, almost 2/3 of the companies have reported, and most of the companies have reported a good demand through their revenue numbers. And also, there is a margin issue, of course, but because of the commodity inflation. But the positive aspect is domestically linked businesses actually have reported a good margin, revenue print per se.
Okay.
And the final point is the valuation. Because what we have seen in the last 12 months or YTD 2022, markets have actually corrected, and therefore the valuations have become more normal or closer to the average level. So I think out of two factors are definitely on the positive side, on benign side. One is more challenging, which is inflation. So that is what actually going on, and I think over a period of time, as we will get more clarity on the geopolitical situation as well as on this inflation outlook, that is where the some kind of a sentiment will start improving.
क्रेजी सर. इसकी वजह से ही लाइक आई हैव अ पर्सनल क्वेश्चन, एंड आई होप हम ये कॉन्वर्जेशन थोड़ा इंग्लिश और हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों मिक्स करके करने की कोशिश करेंगे. हमारे बहुत व्यूअर्स दे प्रेफर कॉन्वर्जेशन इन हिंदी. तो एक चीज मुझे ये समझना था, पिछले कुछ दिनों से मार्केट इज ऑन द राइज. लाइक वी वर लुकिंग एट, अगर आप प्रीवियस कुछ सेशंस देखेंगे तो we have a steady Sensex is going up like 200-300 points up every day. अगर close होने की भी कोशिश होती है, this is very different from जो हो रहा था 2 हफ्ते पहले। 2 हफ्ते पहले वी वुड सी 1000 पॉइंट्स डाउन, और फिर 500 पॉइंट रिकवर होता, फिर एक 600 पॉइंट और नीचे जाता, फिर 300 पॉइंट रिकवर होता। आपने जो ये 4 मैक्रो पॉइंट्स बताए अभी, इंटरनल, एक्सटर्नल, डोमेस्टिक एंड इंटरनेशनल, इसके चक्कर में डू यू थिंक द प्ले हैज ऑलरेडी स्टार्टेड टू इम्पैक्ट, और डू यू थिंक दैट द स्लोप इज अबाउट टू बिगिन, कि ये अभी शुरू हुआ है कि ये हो चुका? इस पे जरा अगर आप लाइट देंगे तो।
देखिए, मार्केट वोलेटिलिटी, स्पेशली अगर आप इक्विटी मार्केट्स की बात करेंगे तो मार्केट का अनुमान या ऐसे 10-15 दिन में ये तो होते रहते हैं। मार्केट,
जी,
इक्विटी मार्केट में जब लोग इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो वोलेटिलिटी इज अ पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ इट। सो यू विल सी ट्रेंड्स चेंजिंग, यू विल सी इन बिटवीन द मार्केट्स गोइंग ईदर डायरेक्शन एक्सेट्रा। एक्चुअली जब इक्विटी मार्केट को इन्वेस्ट करते भी है तो लॉन्ग टर्म व्यू से करना चाहिए, दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग। शॉर्ट टर्म वोलेटिलिटी का कोई ज्यादा इंटरप्रिटेशन होता नहीं है। जैसे कि हम बात कर रहे हैं कि पिछले 10 दिनों में मार्केट में काफी उछाल है, एक महीने में काफी उछाल है, उसका
जी,
और पूरे साल में जो हो रहा है उसमें बहुत अलग अलग ट्रेंड्स है। लेकिन मैंने जैसे बताया कि अल्टीमेटली ये जो 4-5 फैक्टर जो है ब्रॉड बकेट्स में, इसको अगर आप डिवाइड करके साथ में कंसिडर करेंगे देन यू कैन मेक अ सेंस कि क्या चीज, मतलब इसमें कौन सा वेरिएबल इंपॉर्टेंट है और उसके प्रति क्या
ओके,
आगे जाके हो सकता है। बाकी जो मार्केट काफी predict करना on a short term basis is nobody's strength. I mean nobody should try to do that. Basically जब
ओके,
इसीलिए जब हम भी फंड मैनेज करते हैं या लोगों को भी सलाह देते हैं कि किस तरह इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए, तो आपका
जी,
व्यू हमेशा लॉन्ग टर्म होना चाहिए। कम से कम इक्विटी एसेट क्लास जब कंसीडर करते हैं तो 5 साल के इससे देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक बड़ा साइकिल होता है बिजनेस में जिसका
जी।
आपको पूरा बेनिफिट भी 5 साल इन्वेस्ट होने के बाद ही मिल सकता है।
ओके, सो इन्वेस्टर्स जो हमारा शो देख रहे हैं, दे शुड फंडामेंटली लुक, इग्नोर द शॉर्ट टर्म फ्लक्चुएशंस, के अगर ये जो ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है मार्केट में,
हम्म।
इसको नजरअंदाज करना चाहिए, क्योंकि इंडिया का ग्रोथ स्टोरी इज वेरी स्ट्रांग,
इंडिया ग्रोथ
डोमेस्टिक
स्टोरी
फैक्टर्स आर
है,
वेरी
बहुत
नाइस।
सारा मतलब बहुत सारे जो स्ट्रक्चरल ट्रेंड्स होते हैं, इंडिया ग्रोथ स्टोरी ऑफ कोर्स इज गोइंग टू बी स्ट्रांग फॉर इवन फॉर द नेक्स्ट डिकेड, नॉट जस्ट फॉर 5 years. That is for
यस,
fundamentally we are coming off very strong wicket per se. That is what our view as a house also. But globally also there are certain things which are structural in nature and they will continue to play out as we go ahead. बट ये जो शॉर्ट टर्म में वोलेटिलिटी जो होगा वो तो पार्ट एंड पार्सल है। जैसे कि हर बार आपके वेरिएबल्स भी चेंज हो गए, इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द वेरिएबल आल्सो विल
जी,
चेंज, सो दैट विल कीप ऑन कॉजिंग द वोलेटिलिटी, बिकॉज मार्केट में बहुत सारे टाइप्स के इन्वेस्टर्स होते हैं
जी,
जिनके नीड्स एंड perhaps the pressure points can keep changing, but for our point of view when you are investing into equity, basically वो long term saving financial goal achieve करने के लिए जो हम करते हैं, आपके
हाँ जी,
गोल्स का तभी अच्छा परिणाम मिल सकता है आपकी सेविंग्स का, जब आप लॉन्ग टर्म व्यू से उसको इन्वेस्ट करते हो और आप रेगुलर हैबिट भी रखते हैं सेविंग का। वो सबसे
ओके,
बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन है उसमें।
ओके, सो यू बेसिकली सेइंग कि अगर कर भी रहे हैं तो छोटे छोटे अमाउंट में एसआईपी करें, और
हाँ, मतलब
कंसिस्टेंट रहें।
रेगुलर इन्वेस्टर है, लॉन्गर टर्म आप इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो। तो अगर आपने कोई
Awesome.
फाइनेंशियल गोल सोच के कर रहे हैं जिसके लिए आपको 5 साल आप इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो, तो आप उस डिसिप्लिन में आपको रहना चाहिए।
Okay, okay, I get you now. So, so everyone here, like, what we're trying to understand here is कि ये शो का नाम है Investing in Mid Cap Fund, but बहुत लोग have started their journey right now, ऐसा नहीं है कि सबको समझ आता है कि mid cap क्या है. There are a lot of new to market people on our show right now. तो अगर आप हल्के से, like, in very short ways, if you could explain कि large cap, mid cap और small cap क्या होता है, so that they can पोजीशन के मिड कैप का एक्चुअल मीनिंग क्या होता है? कुड यू ब्रीफली डिस्क्राइब फॉर आवर व्यूअर्स कि ये मिड कैप एग्जैक्टली चीज क्या है?
सी इट इज़ वेरी सिंपल एंड स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड। मार्केट में बहुत सारी कंपनीज लिस्ट होती है, उसका मार्केट
जी,
कैपिटलाइजेशन होता है, जिसकी वैल्यू होती है। तो
जी,
सेबी ने एक कैटेगराइजेशन स्टैंडर्ड किया हुआ है कि फर्स्ट 100 कंपनीज जो लार्जेस्ट मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन है 1 to 100, दोज विल बी कॉल्ड एज लार्ज कैप कंपनीज।
जी,
101 to 250 companies are categorized as a mid cap companies, and beyond
जी,
250, which is starting from 251st company going up to all the way, are called as small cap companies. This is simple, I mean that is the whole standardization. जैसे जैसे अगर कोई कंपनी है जैसे 105 उसका रैंक है एंड इफ इट
जी,
अप्रिशिएट्स, तो अगर वो 100 के ऊपर चली गई तो जब नेक्स्ट 6 महीने के बाद उसका वापस रिकैटेगराइजेशन होगा तो शायद वो लार्ज कैप कही जाएगी, या
ओके,
फिर कोई कंपनी स्मॉल कैप बकेट से भी मिड कैप में आ सकती है। तो ये हर छः
ओके।
महीने में मतलब जून और जनवरी में इसमें रिव्यू होता है और इस
ओह
तरह
नाइस।
कंपनी की रैंकिंग होती है। तो 100 पहली 100 कंपनी विल बी लार्ज कैप, नेक्स्ट 150 कंपनीज विल बी मिड कैप एंड बियॉन्ड दैट कंपनीज विल बी स्मॉल कैप।
ओके। एंड ये ज़रूरी है क्या हर स्मॉल कैप कंपनी लार्ज कैप बनेगी इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ बिकमिंग बिग इन नेचर, या फिर आप कह रहे हो कि इट्स वेरी क्रिटिकल हाउ यू गो अबाउट चूजिंग द कंपनीज यू इन्वेस्ट इन, बिकॉज़
No, no.
सारे
See,
सभी।
the rank is simple. Rank is just sequencing the company in a descending order of in terms of the market cap. And the first 100 companies will be large cap, and then, as I said, next 150 will be mid cap, and thereafter it will be
ओके।
small cap.
ऑसम। तो ये अभी हम लोगों ने करंट मार्केट कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझा। आपने कहा कि करंटली थोड़ा वॉलेटाइल है, यू सीन, बट ग्लोबल और इंटरनल मैक्रो फैक्टर्स आर इन सपोर्ट। क्या आपको लगता है कि मिड कैप कंपनीज राइट नाउ आर द राइट थिंग टू इन्वेस्ट इन, एज इन लाइक व्हाट्स योर टेक ऑन मिड कैप इन द करंट मार्केट सिनेरियो? आपको क्या लगता है कि इज इट वाइज फॉर पीपल टू पुट देयर हैंड्स इनटू मिड कैप कंपनीज और फंड्स
See, if
राइट नाउ?
you see if you look at this universe of 101 to 250 companies, generally
जी।
this is a universe where there are a lot of interesting names are there, a lot of interesting businesses there, and with the different linkages from global and domestic economy. ये एक सबसे बड़ा important part है। दूसरा,
ओके।
इसमें sector diversification जो है वो बहुत बड़ा है। I mean, you will
ओके।
get exposure to the businesses which otherwise will not be present in large cap buckets. See, अगर जैसे लार्ज कैप की बात करेंगे तो आप देखेंगे बहुत सारे लार्ज बिजनेसेस है वो फाइनेंशियल्स में होते हैं, ऑयल एंड गैस इंडस्ट्रीज में होते हैं, आईटी सर्विसेज कंपनीज बहुत बड़ी होती है, तो उनका
जी।
ऑटोमेटिकली वो लार्ज कैप कंपनीज ही होती है। जो छोटे रीजनल बैंक्स होते हैं या रिटेल कंपनीज होता है या केमिकल कंपनीज, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होती है, कैपिटल गुड्स कंपनीज होती है, इसमें बहुत सारा हेट्रोजीनियस नेचर है। तो एक
जी।
वो बड़ा लंबा उसका डाइवर्सिफिकेशन है। These companies, if somebody wants to have an exposure, and these are very interesting companies because in my earning growth is generally, I mean, even now it has been projected to be a little bit better than the large cap. Therefore, earning growth जब किसी की ज़्यादा होती है तो the probability of somebody having better appreciation for the value in terms of the investment is more, and that is why that mid cap space remains very interesting. And as of now, it is more interesting because of this earnings being better or expected to be better than large caps as well. However, idea is not to pitches against the large cap. Basically, large caps has certain characteristics which also serves investment purpose, but mid cap brings in that complementary aspects of
ओके।
diversification and better risk return profile. So those things are to be clubbed with when where somebody is considered with the mid cap. But in all the cases, whenever you're कंसिडरिंग, जब भी इक्विटी एसेट क्लास इन्वेस्टमेंट कंसिडर कर रहे हैं तो जो
जी।
5 साल का आपका जो मिनिमम होराइजन होना चाहिए वो इम्पोर्टेंट है।
ओके। सो यू आर सेइंग कि मिड कैप जैसे सेक्शन में अगर आप इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो लॉन्ग टर्म देखिए, 5 साल या अबाव देखें, देन यू वुड बी इन अ पोजीशन टू सी मल्टीपल
या
चर्न साइकिल्स, और उसके बाद
जी,
अच्छा रिटर्न एक्सपेक्टेड हो सकता है।
जो आप
ये।
लार्ज कैप में एक्सपोजर नहीं ले पाते, जो डाइवर्सिफिकेशन से या जो सेक्टर्स मिस करेंगे वो आपका फुलफिल हो जाएगा यहाँ पे। दैट इज
ओके।
एक्चुअली द पार्ट व्हिच मिड कैप ब्रिंग्स यू।
ऑसम, ऑसम। ठीक है, मेरे को क्लियरली समझ आ रहा है, क्योंकि मैं भी ना लाइक आई बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस फॉर द लास्ट 5-6 इयर्स, बट देयर सम थिंग्स दैट इवन आई लर्न। तो मैं आधे क्वेश्चन तो खुद के लिए पूछता हूँ सच्ची अगर बताया गया तो। थैंक यू फॉर सॉल्विंग मोस्ट ऑफ माय डाउट।
होप वी आर
अभी ये भी
हेल्पिंग यू।
पता चला है। जी, कहिए।
नहीं, होप यू वी आर आल्सो क्लैरिफाई, यू नो, आई मीन वी आर
यस,
आल्सो
यस, यस।
सक्सेसफुल क्लैरिफाइंग दैट।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी। नहीं, नहीं, आई एम एन्जॉयिंग दिस कन्वर्सेशन, अ लॉट ऑफ थॉट्स ओपन्ड अप। आईडीएफसी हैज़ आल्सो कम आउट विथ देयर फंड। मुझे ये पता करना था कि दिस फंड, इज़ इट एनी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द वन्स दैट आर इन द मार्केट? व्हाट वाज़ योर आइडियोलॉजी बिफोर मेकिंग दिस फंड कम आउट इन दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम? आपको क्या लगता है कि राइट नाउ आईडीएफसी ने मिड कैप फंड क्यों निकाला है? आर देयर एनी रीजंस वेरी स्पेसिफिक अबव एंड बियॉन्ड आपने जो अभी तक बताया?
See, first of all, this is an open-ended fund, so it is not only about launching it now and investing it now. It's going to be open-ended fund, and it has a longer life beyond the launch phase of NFO also.
ओके।
Why we launched this fund is, as I told you, it's a very compelling category, as in from a investor's allocation point of view. So that is something as a product gap which we needed to fill up, and so we had this fund, right? And this is
जी।
a, in terms of differentiation, and that is something which we'll bring in. But the but the fact is सबसे important चीज है कि from a regulation point of view, this is a category which has been there among the lot of actively managed funds. So this is something we were not having in our kitty as of now, and this gap is what we are fulfilling. That is the first thing.
Oh,
In terms
nice.
of mid cap attractions per se, which I said in the beginning, first is if you look at any time frame from a 3 year, 5 year या 10 साल का आप देखोगे तो मिड कैप जनरली 5 से 6% ज्यादा रिटर्न देते हैं ऑन अ सीएजीआर बेसिस. दैट इज द
Okay.
हिस्टोरिक डेटा है.
Okay.
रिस्क एडजस्टेड बेसिस पे भी मिड कैप एज अ कैटेगरी scores far better compared to large and small cap category. These are
Okay.
the two important aspects from a return point of view.
Okay.
Third important point being, आप अगर इसमें सेक्टर डाइवर्सिफिकेशन का जो मैंने बताया, देयर आर नंबर ऑफ सेक्टर्स व्हिच जनरली आर नॉट अवेलेबल इन द मिड
जी.
कैप, large caps rather, so that those are also get complemented, so or get exposed to that. That's the complementary nature of the category. So
Okay.
those are the things which are there. The fourth and perhaps more compelling also an argument is from a long term point of view. If you see, mid cap valuations tend to be about 18.3 or something, and now that the correction happened in the market, the valuations are closer to the longer term averages.
Oh,
So
nice.
that also makes a opportune time for somebody to relook at it, or take a fresh look at it, and can actually bring that allocation into the portfolio. So those are
Makes
the
sense.
compelling things. That is what our overall thinking behind why we are coming with this mid cap fund.
Amazing.
And in terms of way we are going to deploy is like we have come up with this clear thought process. What is going to be our approach? So we
जी.
will be emphasizing on the growth and quality aspects of the companies. And as I
Nice.
said, this from a sector point of view, it's a very diversified sector. So number of sectors present in mid caps are very large. Therefore, the bottoms up approach is very important. I mean, you will
Okay.
choose company specific rather than a sector specific approach. So
जी.
that is called as the bottoms up approach. That is what we are going to adopt. And
Nice.
then in terms of what we are going to choose in terms of businesses, and what will be discipline of investing. So there is a 5 filter framework with which we have come up.
ओके. नहीं, नहीं, आई एम श्योर हम लोग ना आपके पीपीटी के थ्रू जाएँगे. आई एम श्योर यू विल कवर ऑल ऑफ दिस लाइक वेरी इंट्रिंसिक पार्ट्स ऑफ द कन्वर्सेशन. आई वाज जस्ट ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड IDFC's reason, and one of the core compelling reasons that now I understand is कि IDFC से अगर आपको अपना पूरा म्यूचुअल फंड पोर्टफोलियो बनाना है तो you have every type of product. Like I've heard
Oh, yeah.
now if somebody wants to build a portfolio with a very credible company like IDFC, we can definitely go into. And I also understand that there are a lot more compelling factors like you were speaking about, and I'm sorry to cut you in between, but I guess ये point पे ना थोड़ा in depth हमें बात करना पड़ेगा for our viewers to really
Sure.
understand. So I would really request my team, could you put up the PPT slides that we have for today's show, and then I can ask you very specific questions moving forward. Sorry for that. I wanted to understand कि, if you could take through the offering of IDFC Midcap Fund in the way that you were trying to say, what are the compelling reasons and how you've structured this?
Yeah,
What's
sure.
in it for an active investor? The ground is all yours.
Sure. So can you just move ahead to one slide? I think there are a few important 4 5 points we are trying to make in this. So as of now, this NFO is open.
Change
I
the
think.
slide, please.
So here is the first point which I made. If you look at mid cap category returns versus large cap category returns, they've generally been quite healthy compared to large cap, which is like 5 to 6% more. And ये लंबे समय के लिए है, 3 साल 5 साल 10 साल जो जो मैटर करता है इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए. So that is the first point. Next, please. सो एंड दूसरा ये होता है कि एक होता है रिटर्न, दूसरा आप रिस्क एडजस्टेड रिटर्न इसलिए देखते हैं क्योंकि बहुत सारे कैटेगरीज में वोलेटिलिटी भी कम या ज़्यादा होती है. तो इस कैटेगरी में जरूर वोलेटिलिटी ज़्यादा है जो स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन से आपको दिखाई दे रही है, बट वो रिटर्न्स भी उसको कॉम्पेंसेट करते हैं. तो आप अगर उसको रिस्क एडजस्टेड रिटर्न के व्यू से देखेंगे, then mid cap does score very strongly compared to large cap or a small cap also. And then this is a data which is based on a 3 year returns of each category per se.
Okay.
So one is the return and risk adjusted part. Next part will be about, can you move ahead?
एक सेकंड, मेरा एक सवाल है सर, कैन वी गो बैक टू द प्रीवियस स्लाइड प्लीज? कुड यू प्लीज अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट व्हाट इज शार्प रेशियो एंड सॉर्टिनो रेशियो? अगर आप एक एक स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन तो आपने बताया कि फ्लक्चुएशंस कितने होते हैं उसके ऊपर
तो
हो
बेसिकली
सकते हैं।
इसमें क्या होता है कि जैसे आप मीन रिटर्न देख रहे हैं, ठीक है।
जी,
आप शार्प रेशियो में क्या होता है कि बेंचमार्क रिटर्न्स एक होते हैं हर कैटेगरी के, या अभी इसमें तो हम लोग कैटेगरी रिटर्न ही देख रहे हैं,
जी,
क्योंकि दिस इज नॉट अ फंड विच इज मैनेज राइट, एंड दिस इज नॉट अ एक्टिव
ओके,
फंड. So here you are just dividing the mean returns by the standard deviation, and that is the ratio which you are
ओके,
getting. So this
ओके,
ratio, better the sharper ratio or better the shortener ratio, it is just an indication of how better the category is. So मतलब अगर आपको इसको बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्निकल ना बना के सिर्फ सिंपल तरीके से भी समझना है, तो जनरली
जी,
क्या होता है कि कोई कोई एसेट क्लास आपको बहुत ज़्यादा फ्लक्चुएट कर सकता है, लेकिन आपके रिटर्न शायद उतने कमिंसरेट नहीं होते. तो
जी,
एक ये जो एकेडमिक डेफिनेशन है, वोलेटिलिटी इज इक्विवेलेंट टू द रिस्क. So when the
जी,
volatility of an asset class is higher, it is also considered to be more riskier, right?
awesome,
If you want to have a higher riskier category exposure, then you also should get compensated by higher return. That is the way to look at it. So generally, the standard deviation part is like some kind of a proxy for risk of the category per se, and the mean
okay,
return is basically what how you are getting compensated for that. So whether that
okay,
is commensurate with that. So the simple thing is like your Sharpe ratio being better means that category is actually better from a risk adjusted point.
okay.
That is
Should it be
the
closer to 1 or
no,
less, like
it
closer to
may
0?
not be closer to one. I'm just saying, given the options which are there, like आप जैसे देखेंगे सिंपल शार्प रेशियो लार्ज कैप का है 40.47, स्मॉल कैप का 0.55 है, एंड मिड कैप
जी,
का 0.69 है. तो
जी,
obviously 0.69 is better than 0.47 or 0.55.
okay, okay,
The
okay.
it is meaningfully better actually.
Makes sense, makes sense. Please go on. Like, I just wanted to ensure there are some questions
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
in
sure, sure.
from YouTube, and we just want to solve everyone's doubts. So please go on the next slide, please.
सो जो मैंने वो वैल्यूएशन का बात किया, देखिए ये पी मल्टीपल है, ये ट्रेलिंग पी मल्टीपल है, ठीक है. ये 10 साल का एवरेज हमने निकाला है, एंड दैट कम्स टू 18.3. अब जो ये वाई टी डी ये जून 20th एज ऑन डेटा है, तो अभी चेंज होगा रहेगा, मतलब बिकॉज देयर इज सम गैप बिटवीन व्हाट when we put up this slide and when we are talking about it. So now that the correction, the P levels of the actually the mid cap category is corrected also along with the market correction. So now the valuations are much closer to the longer term averages. So that also makes a compelling case as of now as to why to look at this category per se. Yeah.
Yes. Can we move to the next slide, please?
And again, this is also data as in on the 30th June basis. Now, if you look at the mid caps, अगर आप उस category में if you invest on the back of returns which are 0 to or flattish to negative on a last 12 months basis, then your return profile tends to be materially better in the next 5 years. And again, 5 years is important because most of the equity investors has to consider this part. I'm emphasizing it again. So from that angle, if you see, then you tend to have a like 22 or 24% kind of a return profile. Of course, this is not a guarantee or guidance or any kind of thing, but this is an empirical data which we kind of based on our research is what we are presenting. So this I think is what proves that perhaps we are there in terms of a better timing also.
मेक सेंस. सो बेसिकली लास्ट स्लाइड और ये स्लाइड ये कहता है कि अभी मार्केट करेक्ट हो चुके हैं, है ना?
Hmm.
एंड देयर ऑल दीज मिड कैप stocks are at good valuation at the moment. They were
As a
higher, highly
category,
priced.
as some of the
The
stocks may
category.
not be, but on an average, category is now it's quite decent.
Oh, nice. And this slice fundamentally says that अगर आपके returns for the current year, empirically, like you have said, अगर थोड़े कम रहते तो the chance of them moving higher in the
In
next
the
five
next five
years is
years,
far
is
more
better.
than anybody else. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Now, like I think our viewers know a lot more about mid cap. Like I don't think anybody else has explained mid cap funds the way you are. Can so do you have a next slide on this? Yes.
Yeah, this is the filter or five filter framework which I was talking about. Because as I
Yes.
said, mid cap में sectors बहुत ज़्यादा है. Number of companies are 150. So this universe or this category needs to be addressed with some kind of a discipline, some kind of framework as to what you are going to buy, or most importantly, what are the disciplines which perhaps you will stick to, because investing is also about having that discipline and consistency, and investor should understand, because this is going to be actively managed fund. Therefore, the investor needs to have an understanding as to what kind of framework will be there, and what fund managers or the investment company or the mutual fund is going to have a discipline about it. So basically, this is a five filter framework which explains a lot of these finer points of the investment approach per se. So starting with governance and sustainability. So basically, you want to buy a business. As I saying, investors should look at investing for 5 years. So similarly, when we buy companies, we want to take a longer term view of the business, because when the business grows over longer term, that is where the shareholder value appreciation also happens meaningfully. So when you want to take a longer term view of the business, you want to buy businesses which are having strong and a good capital allocation track records, as in इनकी management quality क्या है, whether they have been having very consistent capital allocation track record, जिस जहाँ जहाँ पे उन्होंने investment किए हैं, what kind of returns they could able to generate. That is important. दूसरा ये होता है कि when I want to buy a business for a longer term, I should also understand that business predictability मुझे एक होनी चाहिए from longer term point of view. So what that means is the business model should not be too much of a volatile in the near
Yeah.
term. एज इन उसमें कोई रेगुलेशन चेंज हो गया, कोई रूल चेंज हो गया, या
जी.
बहुत सारा टेक्नोलॉजी चेंज हो गया, सब्जेक्ट टू दैट द बिजनेस मॉडल कैन चेंज. So we don't want to have that kind of a business where business model goes through this kind of a changes too often. And so that is the first filter. So, and the second, third, and fourth are basically about what are the growth and quality aspects of that business. So पहला होता है capital efficiency, which is also been called as, or which has also been measured in terms of ROICs. So ROIC है as in the return on invested capital.
जी.
So there should be a structural opportunity for the business to earn optimal ROIC, as in that ROIC should be resulting into a positive EVA, हम लोग बोलते हैं, economic value add per se, so that surplus returns which that business generates, that is available for reinvestment into the business either, or they can be returned to the shareholders. So that is where one aspect is there. The other aspect is the competitive edge. So each business has certain purpose to serve for the customers,
Yeah.
either, and that business can be B2B, that business can be B2C, B2G. I mean, there are a number of businesses, as you know. So that business, if it is solving the customer problem either through a cost or quality differentiation or through the product differentiation, at the same time it is also remaining profitable for itself, then that business can have a strong franchise network creation, right? And then the fourth point basically is scalability, which is nothing but growth. What kind of market opportunities are available for the business? So
Yeah.
when you buy a business which is, or when you come across a business which is owned by good quality management or run by a good quality management, also have very decent capital efficiency and a competitive advantage. And when it results into growth, that is where the value creation actually is quite strong and quite meaningful. So that is the kind of business we would like to own. But when you buy such businesses, and they are very well discovered, they tend to be expensive also. Therefore,
Okay.
that discipline is important. That what kind of price you want to pay for owning such businesses in the portfolio, and therefore that discipline is important. And we want to avoid paying excess price for the right kind of business. So that is also the thing. So this is what the five filter framework, and this is what is going to be our approach in terms of managing the mid cap fund.
Makes sense. ये पांच framework, like I've seen some frameworks with a lot, like we keep doing this show with a lot of AMCs. I think this is one of the very self-explanatory frameworks that young investors who don't know much knowledge about how to go about choosing can look at this and be certain about what they're investing into. So thank you very much for this specific slide. I would say five filter framework is what is making IDFC stand different from everybody else. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay.
या सो बेसिकली ये एक और छोटा सा एंगल जो हम इसमें ऐड कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज दिस इज गोइंग टू बी मिड कैप फंड, and we need to be minimum 65% into that category. So over and above, we can add large and small cap, And what we're trying to say is for adding large and small cap, the same filters also will be applied. While we'll be meaningfully above mid cap percentage required, which is about 65%. So whenever we're adding large or small cap investment, we are also going to go through the same process of selecting a particular business, and that's how this entire portfolio will be built.
Okay. Nice, nice, nice. There are also some questions that have come in that I wanted to fundamentally look at. And there are a lot of guys here who, matlab, some questions that I look at, they've already been answered. But Arvind Sani is saying how someone should approach investing in mid cap funds. Like I think ये asset allocation की बात कर रहे हैं. They're mostly talking about mid cap का asset allocation आपके उसमें कितना होना चाहिए.
So mid-cap asset allocation can be complementary to the large cap asset allocation. Generally, आप देखेंगे most of the investors will have I think two-thirds of their asset allocations either to the flexi cap or large caps. So they tend to bring in a lot of this exposure to the large cap category per se. I also manage flexi cap over here, so our exposure also is closer to 70% in large cap, and I think that will be the trend you will see. That will be a flavor you will see in most of the flexi cap. So for bringing in this mid cap, which is that part which can be addressed very sharply to the mid cap fund exposure, I think that is where the mid cap fund role comes into the play. I think as long as you are quite clear about your longer term investment horizon, it is a matter of like how much exposure you want to have. But as I'm saying, it can have a complementary allocation to that, and that can vary up to 20-25% in individual investors portfolio.
ओके एक एक पर्सनल क्वेश्चन है मेरा जो अरविंद सैनी के एक दूसरे क्वेश्चन के से मैं डिराइव कर रहा हूँ अरविंद इज आस्किंग व्हाट इज योर व्यू ऑन न्यू एज कंपनीज इसको थोड़ा मैं ट्वर्क कर रहा हूँ और आपके लिए पर्सनली ये सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ देयर आर लॉट ऑफ स्टार्टअप्स टुडे हु आर अ पार्ट ऑफ द 101 to 250 कंपनीज आपका उनका उनके ऊपर व्यू क्या है लाइक द न्यू एज कंपनीज व्हिच आर वेरी टेक ओरिएंटेड lot of them may be much more volatile and are still trying to prove a case in the market. आपका take क्या है on this new age companies?
See, the technology landscape is evolving very fast. That is for sure.
जी.
It is impacting all our lives. Like as of now, we are doing this virtual, which is also technology, right? And that's how we are reaching to more people. And if you see, most of the things, most of the habits are also getting impacted by the technology. So definitely, technology is playing a big role, and I think that is going to intensify in everybody's life. Businesses as well as individual personal tech is evolving very fast, and a lot of enterprise investments also happening around it, and even the individual spends are also happening through the technology. So obviously it's going to play a big role, and there are certain business models which are getting created around it. In certain cases, perhaps the proof, as I said, in that competitive age part, businesses has to solve a customer's particular problem either through a cost, quality, or a time manner, or there can be some kind of a convenience or some kind of solution to existing needs which the business has to bring in. Technology companies are trying to bring in either a new thing, or they're trying to create value in the existing things or the existing way things are getting consumed. Either it is a entertainment service, or it's just about ordering grocery also. I mean, a lot of aspects are there, just giving a flavor. But at the same time, there also has to be a way of these companies to remain profitable. Okay, and then while these companies are investing for customer acquisition, and therefore as of now they are not profitable, and eventually they will gain scale and they will make profitable. So certain cases are very long term in nature. Certain cases are difficult to understand and predict because there is also competition. And as I said, in certain cases, even the underlying technology also can get changed. The business model is also evolving. But way we are seeing it, the age is there, and this would become a very significant part of not only the capital markets but also of the economy per se. So this is a space to be watched out. However, in terms of clarity, in terms of where their profitability will start coming in, or what kind of profitability they will have. I think
जी,
this is a very dynamic space as of now.
subjective.
And
Yeah.
this is need to be looked at. This is not like something will keep our eyes off. We'll definitely, and
Okay.
every active investor will do that. So this is an interesting space to be looked at. When you have clarity about where the profitability is going, what kind of valuation it could command, you can take a meaningful exposure to that. But till that time, you do not have to risk that capital very aggressively. I mean, you can remain
Okay.
interested, you control your exposures, but watch out for that.
ओके सो एक सवाल है जिसका आई थिंक वीव आंसर्ड दिस क्वेश्चन कपल ऑफ टाइम्स इन द शो एंड मे बी दिस पर्सन हैज कम लेट इनटू our live show. Shefali Singh asked, can we invest in mid cap funds for more than 10 years? इसका आंसर मैं देना चाहूँगा क्योंकि आपने मुझे 3 बार बताया. हाँ जी शेफाली, we should fundamentally invest in mid cap funds for a long phase of time. 1-2 साल के अंदर you
Remember
don't
better.
discover the entire scope of a mid cap fund, and the best returns that you can face is in a longer time frame, 5 years or more. 10 years के लिए तो आप डेफिनेटली कर सकते हैं. सर मैं सही कह रहा हूँ कि आप थोड़ा ऐड करना चाहेंगे?
Longer the better.
लॉन्गर द बेटर. ट्रू, ये बात बहुत ट्रू है. फिर then we have a couple of questions. What mid caps? This is something that we've answered. Fahad Mullah says, can mid cap mutual funds produce greater returns than large cap funds? They tend to, Fahad. They tend to, and the reason is that large cap is already large, and the growth possibility of a large fund is, large company is already at a particular level. Mid cap has the scope of moving from 20 to 100, तो 5x होता है. But somebody who's already at 100, to go 100 to 500 is far more difficult. So, and that is why there are chances, is what I believe, कि mid cap can produce greater returns, but over a longer duration of time. Sir, ये सही है? Like, I'm trying to learn and revise what you've told me so far.
So, of course, if the company is of a medium size versus a large size, it has a better scope for growth. However, that is not the only aspect. Certain companies, I mean, why mid caps also tend to, as a category, which is as the evidence is being, why it
Yeah.
tends to have a better return than because they have better earnings growth also. I mean, there are large cap companies which have done better than the mid cap companies, but as a category as a whole, if you look at, then you will find more number of candidates in the mid cap which are present, and they can have a better return profile. Individual companies can have a different trajectory, that is given, but if you want to choose a basket, then mid cap, even now, like we are looking at the earning projections per se, they tend to be better than the large cap category. So that is there. I mean, as of now, that is the situation. There are phases in the market, like a 1 year or
Okay.
6 months, where large caps could do better than mid caps. But if you do it like that slide which I showed on a 3 year,
Yes.
5 year, and 10 year, that is
Yes.
clearly evidence that empirical evidence is in favor of mid caps.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. So, while I've covered all the questions that have come in, I just wanted to summarize the show because we're coming to the end of the show right now. And I would love if you can add on anything that I've missed so far. So, fundamentally, what we're saying that the market is in a position where a lot of stocks have corrected. They've come to a good PE level where you can start investing in. And mid cap stocks specifically are at a good buying ratio. When that coupled with the fact that IDFC 5 pillar framework, you would be in a position to choose a fund that provides insights into the best mid cap company stocks, filtered through the experience and expertise that you have, and give you a fund that over a long period of time will give you good returns. Now, आपने SIP के बारे में भी बताया that the way of moving into something like this would be to go into a systematic plan of investing and taking tiny steps to build a portfolio, and you can build an entire portfolio now with IDFC mutual fund, because अभी mid cap भी आ गया, balance तो आपने ही बनाया, flexi cap भी आप ही के पास है. So अभी ये सारा बन के somebody can make a portfolio. Are there any closing points, Sachin ji, जो आप बताना चाहेंगे to our viewers, and then we can perhaps close the show?
Just the one point in favor of this product per se. See, as a fund
Yeah.
house, we think we have a very large and a very deep expertise in this universe already. It is not, although the product is new, our understanding, familiarity of the category is quite there.
Yes.
We already have 4,500 crore of equity assets which are already
Nice.
invested towards the mid cap as a category
जी,
through our different funds. So
जी,
as a fund house, our understanding, familiarity, and the skill sets which you have as a team is quite there. So this is a product which will just amplify that entire expertise on a specific and a larger scale through this product. That is what we will say as a conclusion.
oh
And
nice, oh nice,
as I said, the final point is do invest for a longer term. That is where the equity asset class five. I mean, longer term means 5 years. That is the
okay,
point. I think people should register. Yeah.
जी, awesome, awesome. So 4,000 crores, that's a lot of money.
Good.
4,000 crores, more than 4,000 crores. So thank you very much, Sachin ji. I think ये session में I have learned a lot about mid cap fund, like a very different way. I have also gotten to know very fairly about what IDFC does and why does it stand out from different AMCs. And what approach that it gets. So thank you very much for your time today, and I hope आपका ये नया जो fund है, which is an open-ended fund, like you said, people invest in it and people suggest each other to invest in the longer frame, like you've said. Guys, before we close, I just also want to say that this is not an investment advice that we're giving. We're just trying to give our opinion to you. What you need to do over and top of this is speak to your investment advisor, do some research by yourself. You can't go on hearsay anymore. So आप ये सब करिए and आपको पता चलेगा कि how good a fund IDFC mid cap fund is, and how good a company or how good a AMC IDFC is by itself. एंड सचिन सर के क्रेडिबिलिटी के बारे में तो मैंने आपको बताया, तो बेझिझक आप इसको एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं, अपने दोस्तों को बता सकते हैं, एंड डेफिनेटली शेयर दिस वीडियो टू एवरीवन दैट देयर इज। सो थैंक यू सचिन जी, आपसे बात करके मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। आई होप कि हम लोग एक और शो करें, होपफुली आप और ऐसे फंड लाते रहें और हमसे बात करते रहें, एंड आई विल बी वेरी वेरी हैप्पी to get have a word with you again. So thank you very much, and guys, please do your needy the base job that you have to do before starting investing. This is me, Muzzammil Syed, with Sachin sir, signing off from Paytm Money Talks episode 5, investing in mid cap funds. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.